Akwesasne and the rest of the Seaway Valley, good afternoon and welcome to a live edition of CKON Wednesday to Watala. My name is Reen Cook, and we remind you views and opinions expressed by our guests and our callers during Day to Watala, not necessarily those of 97.3 CKON or the Akwesasne Communication Society. And our phone lines are open. If you have any questions, you can call them in now for the Grand Chief, and we'll get to those right after his presentation. It's not a very long presentation today, so if you do have questions for the Grand Chief, please get those in now so that I have those and I'm prepared for those after his presentation today. So 518-358-3427, 613-575-2101. And with that, we have our monthly update that we've enjoyed with the Grand Chief. He was doing them bi-monthly and then every month. So we look forward to our updates, seeing what's going on with the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne, especially with regards to the pandemic. We've got the vaccine rollout. We've also come to the point where Ontario is starting to reopen in phases. So we'll be discussing that. Also our vaccination numbers here on the territory and how we can take a look at those statistics to see where it's going to lead us. So with that, we would like to welcome back newly elected, re-elected, I should say, Mohawk Council of Akwesasne Grand Chief Abram Benedict. And we'd like to welcome him to the program and thank him for the time that he's going to spend with us today. Mohawk Council of Akwesasne Grand Chief Abram Benedict. Sego and welcome, Grand Chief.
Sego, Lorraine, and good afternoon. As always, thank you very much for making some time this afternoon to provide you and the community with an update. And thank you for the congratulatory remarks. It's a great pleasure to be here this afternoon. So our last update was back about a month and a half ago, in May 25th, actually. And I thought it was important that we continue to provide updates to you and the community. So I hope that everybody's doing well and has had some time to relax a bit and spend some time with the family over the last long weekend of last week. As always, Yangoa, Tareen, and CKON for providing time for me to provide an update to the community. As I mentioned, the last update was May 25th. Since then, the Mohawk Council has held our general election, which has resulted in our 43rd council for the 2021-2024 council term. On July 9th, 2021, we held our swearing-in ceremony for this council term. I do want to say to our new council and our council as a whole, welcome aboard, as well, Yangoa to the members, previous members, for their commitment and dedication to our community over the last several years. Since swearing in, our council members have been receiving orientation on governance and MCA business and MCA budgets. And over the next few weeks, we'll receive additional presentations from each MCA department on current projects and political needs. As we know, the pandemic is not over. And while the numbers continue to be down in our community, there are no active cases as of right now, and they continue to be low around us. That is a good thing, but the pandemic still continues. I do want to thank everyone for their cooperation in the community for following all of the recommendations. I know this has not been easy. We have some reprieve now and hopefully continue to be on the direction of recovery. I do want to thank and acknowledge all those who have gone out and got vaccinated. However, we still need to continue to keep our guard up, especially with the Delta variant that continues to be the predominant positive cases in Canada and in the United States. And we may see other variants come about as the virus evolves. We're asking the community to research and make an informed decision on the vaccination. In order to get a vaccination through the MCA, you call the community health program. We're asking to remember to make an informed decision based on science and not social media. The MCA Department of Health has recently begun sharing the data regarding the number of vaccinations administered and the rate of a vaccination. You can find this information on our website and our Facebook page. The data excludes anyone from outside of the MCA's jurisdiction who may have been vaccinated at one of another clinic. As of Friday, July 23rd, the MCA has vaccinated nearly 2,000 residents of the northern portion of Akwesasne, that includes both first and second doses. Now, we do estimate the population of the northern portion to be around 8,200. That's based on the Indian registry that we have 8,200 members in our community. That 2,000 represents about a 24%. Now that's based on 8,200 people. Keep in mind that our rate is based on a total population of all ages. As we know, children under 12 cannot be vaccinated as of yet. The rate would be much higher if we did exclude the population of those under 12 years old. However, we do expect that a vaccine will be approved for all ages in the very near future. So this is something that the health professionals have been telling us, and we see that the governments are working towards having a vaccine for all ages. But as of right now, you must be 12 years or older to receive a vaccine. The St. Mohawk tribe is reporting a vaccination rate of approximately 45%. While these numbers are overall encouraging, we need to continue to see them increase. We can't express the importance of a vaccination. Those age 12 and up can receive the COVID vaccine, and it has been proven effective against the variants so far. We do not want our health officials and the health environment folks ordering additional restrictions and closures, and this is surely something we don't want to see in our community. And this is all indications are showing that unvaccinated portions of communities could potentially be the next wave. So again, I encourage community to learn more about vaccination and consider being vaccinated. Please make informed decisions about the COVID-19 vaccine. Again, listen to those who are qualified to best provide information regarding the vaccine and its effects. Also, we do have a number of videos on YouTube, on our Mohawk Council of Akwesasne YouTube page from our Dr. Ojisto Horn. And if you'd like to listen in on some of those, she provides some very important information regarding the COVID situation, as well as the vaccine itself. And she's also available through the MCA Health Department if you have questions. Also, as a reminder, the MCA has rescinded our Akwesasne emergency curfew law, which means that there is no longer a curfew in effect and the travel restrictions have been removed. Now, we see the province of Ontario is currently in the step 3 of their roadmap to reopening, which essentially means that there are less restrictions in the province of Ontario. The steps are based on the number of adults who are fully vaccinated. So it started with the step 1, where there was a requirement of 60% to be vaccinated. Step 2 is 70%, and step 3 is 70 to 80% of adults to be fully vaccinated. Now that's a provincial number across the board, but we do know in the regular conversations and updates that we have with Eastern Ontario Health Unit, which is the Cornwall and area health unit that we receive guidance from, that region is well over 70% vaccinated, which helps contribute to the reopening. Now, the step 3 of the Ontario reopening simply means that there's the ability to have larger gatherings. The inside dining has less restrictions. We have seen, a number of facilities open back up, including the the cinemas. There may be concerts, as well as the gyms in the local areas. So these are all driven by the vaccination rates, as well as the new cases that continue to be low. Just another update that I'd like to share as well. The MCA continues to have a number of vacancy in positions. We do encourage those looking for employment in varying positions to visit our website at akwesasne.ca. There's an employment tab there. that talks about some of the vacancies that we have within the MCA, and we encourage you and community to take a look at that. As well, we do currently have the Department of Health, a number of positions there that help support the MCA. So back to our council over the next little while. Following our orientation, we'll be having conversations around portfolio selections, and we'll continue to move forward on our orientation schedule, and our council will be assigning a portfolio in the coming weeks for the 2021-24 council term. If any community member wants to speak with our members of council, their emails and contact information is on our website, or you can call any one of the MCA phone numbers, 575-2250 or the 2348, and ask for the member of council, and you'll be switched over to them. As well, I'm pleased to announce that our first general meeting will be held next Thursday, August 5th at 6 p.m. And unfortunately, at this time, we will continue to be on Zoom for at least this general meeting. Not sure about the next. Of course, these are all part of the planning stages that we are doing. We want to make sure that we're able to accommodate the community safely. And that there continues to be the numbers that we are seeing here that are trending in the right direction. So, Reen, that's a bit of a short update that I have, but I thought it was important that I come to you, provide you with an update, and also as well take some questions from you in the community, whether it be on the pandemic or other happenings that we have happening in our community. So I'll turn it back to you, Reen. Reen, earlier we spoke about being on mute.
And we thank Grand Chief Abram Benedict for the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne, and appreciate him joining us today. Again, if anybody has any questions for the Grand Chief, you can give him a call at 518-358-3427, 613-575-2101. And you have to call the radio station to get your question on. And we'll also let you know that we are Facebook Live on Mohawk Council of Akwesasne's Facebook page. So we appreciate everybody's attention and for tuning in and for watching on Facebook. So make sure that you like the MCA Facebook page. They always have very interesting posts that they put up from their different programs and things of that nature. So as we look to the Grand Chief, looking at the recent election, Grand Chief Benedict, is there a transition period, like behind the scenes? How do things work? When did our last elected council members who aren't serving any longer, when did they leave the office? And is there a transition period where they stay in and acclimate our new council members, to the position, or how does all of that work?
Yeah, so there isn't really a transition phase per se where you have an overlap. Our previous councils continue to be the sitting council until the next council is sworn in. So essentially on July 9th, when the new council was sworn in, that's when the previous members are no longer part of that council. Now, the actual transition, some members may choose to provide briefing documents to incoming members so that they understand some of the folders that they were in or files they were involved in. But also our staff generally are involved in many of the meetings or portfolios or what have you to assist new members coming on with a update and transitioning. But also the orientation period is extremely important, because that's when we get to sit with some of the department heads and hear updates from them and talk about the political needs going forward. As well, part of the new orientation will be strategic planning and talking about the objectives that our council would like to achieve over the next 3 years, setting a vision, perhaps setting a new vision or mission, or modifying the existing one for the organization to embrace over the next 3 years during this council term. So that's some of the stuff that happens, that has been happening and will continue to be happening for the coming weeks.
Perfect. It always piqued my interest. on both sides of the line here for our elected leadership and how that whole transition happens. So again, if you have any questions for the Grand Chief, 613-575-2101, 518-358-3427. So continuing on, CKON, we hosted a program on the Portlands development. We hosted a program on the Portlands development project. That was a couple of weeks ago. Has anyone asked what you'd like to see done with the Portlands? Like maybe we could ask you in two capacities, as a community member and also as the Grand Chief. So let's start off with the Grand Chief. What do you want to see at the Portlands?
Well, I got a bit of a glitch there. You know how wonderful the internet works. So hopefully I didn't miss a question that you were asking, but I did get the part of the Portlands question. I will say that, I mean, I don't act in a capacity as myself as an individual. You know, I represent the council and the community as a whole, and you know, the direction is given to our council and to myself via the community through various engagement sessions, you know, directions of you know, referendums, what have you, however we come to decision making. So you know, it's not about what Abram Benedict thinks personally on this Portlands project, but I will say that as the Grand Chief, you know, I've been involved in this project for since its inception, which has been well over 6 years now. The project, I mean, the opportunity to become an owner of the Portlands has been well over 10 years. This is not the first time that this opportunity came forward, but you know, the council made a decision that we would take on this as a 50-50 partnership. Now, I know that the 50-50 partnership has not come without controversy on its own. We had done a lot of deliberations at the time of whether or not this would be the best approach to take for our community. We weighed out a lot of the options and looked, you know, and at the end of the day made the decision that, you know, it was either we go into a partnership or we walk away or we leave with nothing. And that was the federal government put us in that position. And we didn't like that position very much, but we have come far from that now. And we are in an engagement phase with the community. We are using a third party organization to help us with that, so that it's not, so that individuals don't feel that, you know, well, the MCA or the city of Cornwall already knows what they're going to be doing with it. And it's not, you know, why should we be engaged? That's absolutely far from where we're at. You know, I believe that we will come to a place where we have infrastructure there that benefits both of our communities. Now, I have openly said that, you know, a facility similar to, say, the Peachtree Mall that has, you know, 6 units in it and 3 are reserved for our community. And 3 would be reserved for, you know, Cornwallites or non-Indigenous businesses. Now, you know, that is something that I have openly said about it, and that would have a great benefit to our people and to the region to create new opportunities. Now, ultimately, it is up to the community, and that is through the you know, the sessions that will be having, the survey that's happening now, to help guide what the development will look like at the end of the day. But I'm confident that where we land will be beneficial to our community, whether it be socially, culturally, in the tourism sector, or financially. It will benefit both of our communities.
Now, what about the financial part? I know that they give us some money to work with when we took it over and stuff. So I know that if we're going to have to put money in, is that going to be 50-50 as well? So if we need additional funding, will both the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne and the City of Cornwall each have to kick in the same amount if we're going to continue forward?
Yeah, essentially we would. I mean, we are partners in this project. We haven't got to the, you know, it really is about depending on what the community wants to see there and what will drive what the cost will be as well. But as 50-50 partners, we would have to come up with our share of that. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't finance this. We have to remember that this, you know, is not in the community, which we do have restrictions here being on a reserve. by the Indian Act restricts a lot of business development. Now, being outside of the reserve brings some additional opportunities, meaning around financing and other partnership possibilities that may not be available because of the restrictions of the Indian Act. So this creates a little bit more opportunity. But these conversations and presentations or options are still a bit ways down the road, because we need to hear what the community's aspirations are with respect to the development of these lands. It could end up at the end of the day being, a water slide park that has, a significant investment, but not in the millions that's occupied with green space. Now, that's just hypothetically, but something like that financially likely would be more palatable to us than, a $10 million investment in a building of such.
Will Mohawk Council of Akwesasne be doing elder care packages again, like the ones done last summer and in the winter?
Well, obviously the elder care packages were spurred a bit by the pandemic and to ensure that the elders had access to certain items available to them that may have not been available or have been ran out of during the pandemic, or they weren't able to get out of their homes. Now, no decision has been made on whether or not that will be done again. I know that initiative was very well received from our elders, and that is something we can definitely look into doing into the fall as people begin preparing for hunkering down for the winter, so to speak.
All right, another question. With Mohawk Council of Akwesasne hiring policies, is there a rule for jobs to be filled in a competitive manner, especially with jobs that are posted but have a temporary or interim person in the position?
Well, that question is of administrative nature. We're not administrators, but there is policies and procedures that are in place for the hiring processes of the MCA that need to be followed, including preferential hiring and ensuring that there's a fair and equitable process available to the person applying, or all people applying. Now, if there are specific concerns, I welcome individuals to discuss with our executive office. We do have a complaints process that we have an intake if there is a specific. If there's inquiries that just about wanting to know what the process is, there's people absolutely within the administration that can help answer those questions, so that individuals interested in applying know what the process is used to evaluate and what to expect on a fair basis of competition.
Another question, going back to the Portlands and possibility you mentioned, referencing different opportunities because it's off territory, because we're not limited because of the Indian Act. So I'm just wondering, I know that as an example, the Siverages Mohawk tribe they carry debt. They carry debt for the completion of the hotel. They carry debt for the health services building, or the new tribal administration building. And I apologize if I'm speaking out of turn if one of those isn't something that's financed. But does the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne carry any debt?
We currently don't finance for any capital projects. The only financing that we do right now is for our housing projects. So any of the apartments that we build, the existing that we have, are financed for that purpose. Otherwise, we don't do any financing. We don't borrow any money for any purpose. Doesn't mean that we can't. We just haven't done that as of yet.
Okay. Now, speaking of housing, another question: why was the housing bylaw in the bylaw registry if it wasn't a bylaw? And why did they say they rescinded it when community members questioned it?
You'll recall, Reen, we talked about this for several months, several months ago now, I think. So my understanding is that when the registry was developed for all of the laws of the under the jurisdiction of the Mohawk Council, there was no in-depth review done of how those laws were enacted. And my understanding of the housing bylaw is that it wasn't enacted under the processes of the law enactment process. So therefore, it was removed by a resolution of council rather than through the law enactment process.
A question with regards to, with the election that happened for the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne, the different meet the candidates nights for, each district and for the Grand Chief position. It was mentioned, I believe it was for Akwesasne district, where I saw it. The Akwesasne Mohawk Police Service is their main station moving to Cornwall Island.
There is. Oh,
when?
Okay. So there is a conceptual plan to relocate the main station from Ganadigo to Cornwall Island. Now, it is still in the exploratory costing design phase as well. It is not a definite at this point, but there is a plan to potentially relocate the main station, which would then mean that the St. Regis station will become a substation. And there are plans as well to open a substation, there is a substation in Snai, but to increase the physical use of that substation as well.
So is that something that the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne is in charge of, or is the Akwesasne Mohawk Police Service in charge of?
The Mohawk Council of Akwesasne would do it in collaboration, the final decision with the police commission, but ultimately it'd be a Mohawk Council of Akwesasne decision, because there would be a financial investment that have to be made for the relocation. But no decision has been made. There is, though, I'll say, a lot of logistical problems created by the international border, and the Mohawk Police Station is locked in by the international border, which is not ideal in many situations. So it does create some challenges. Now, that's not the only reason why. There's a lot of growth happening in all of the MCA, including at the police services, and we're running out of room. So in order to build, a larger police station, or in fact, any administration built in the MCA, it's very challenging. We're surrounded by residential, and our land base that we have access and control to is very limited. So that's, another factor that we have to consider in looking at planning.
Are the recreation centers open, and can community members utilize those?
Mm-hmm. It's my understanding that the recreation centers, we reached out to them. We've said to them that please work with the Emergency Operations Center of the MCA to develop a reopening plan, which we have in the past already have done, and submit what a reopening plan would look like. And the other thing that's a little bit different this time is that we just want to make sure that any events or rentals that are happening, that those individuals are aware of their responsibilities as well when using a facility. But we have communicated with them. Whether or not they have responded and have said, this is our opening day, or maybe they're open now, I'm not sure at this point.
Are there any bylaws for cannabis dispensaries in residential areas, for example, neighborhoods? If not, can they be put into place?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So it's a bit of a two-part question or answer there. We don't have bylaws for restricting certain activities in different areas of the community. So what this would be considered in the outside would be zoning. So that means that you can only do housing development here, commercial development, manufacturing development in certain areas. We don't have a bylaw that stipulates what you can and can't do in different parts of the community. So there is not on the cannabis. There is some consideration right now happening for restriction of the number of facilities that are licensed, but that hasn't been a definite answer made on that. So we are conscious that there's a concern with rise of traffic specifically in Ganadigo. but we have taken some measures to mitigate to slow down traffic in the community. Whether or not for future licensing will occur, that is a consideration as well. But as of right now, there is not anything that restricts what you can and can't do in businesses in our community in various areas.
So would that be something like if the person that phoned that in, if they wanted to pursue that, how do they go about doing that? They contact their district chief, or do they bring it up at a general meeting? How does that work?
Well, the bringing to a council member's attention or to the general meeting is an avenue, but there also is a process that is done annually with the through the Justice Department and the legislative development. And they've, in the past, what they have done is they've done a call for the community or a posting for the community to provide input into legislative priorities. So that will be coming up very soon. So that's an option, as well as having a conversation with the council, either a general meeting or individually, about some priorities like that. Now, understanding it is there's a lot of legislative priorities that we have, and there are a number of varying factors that contribute to which ones are actioned on, including priorities and financing and implications to the community. But doesn't mean that it can't happen. I just want people to understand that we have a lot of legislative priorities that are continuing to be brought forward, and we have to plan accordingly to ensure that we're developing and implementing them effectively.
All right. Again, we're talking with Mohawk Council of Akwesasne Grand Chief Abram Benedict, and he's doing an update for us with regards to MCA, the COVID-19 vaccine rollout, also Ontario reopening in their phases. So we're going to close the phone lines. I'd like to wrap up by 1 o'clock today with the Grand Chief. So thank you to everyone that phoned in questions for the program today. And we will go no later than 1 o'clock. If I do not get to everyone's question, I will make sure that the Grand Chief receives the information for what people are asking or thinking about, or issues they would like to talk about. So again, we're talking with MCA Grand Chief Abram Benedict, and going through some more questions. We have some First Nations brothers and sisters that were down from some of the northern communities in Ontario because of the wildfires, and they were at NAVCAN. Now, we've seen this a few times in the past, especially with Saskatchewan and their flooding in the spring. So we have, are they still here? And what type of role does the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne play with regards to them being set up for temporary displacement from their community to be here while the wildfires are fought?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so unfortunately, we do have representatives from the Deer Lake community that is in the city of Cornwall, and the unfortunate part is that they are here because there's a number of forest fires that are threatening their community. So the initiative is being led by Indigenous Services Canada for the relocation. There is a Indigenous Services Canada representative located on the ground at the NAVCAN Center assisting. Our Emergency Operations Center has been in regular contact with them and is providing supports where possible. We have been providing some social events for them. We've made some contact with some of our artisans in the skirt making, ribbon dress making. We've provided some programming or some presentations from our mental health department. We have some bingo games going on there as well. We will be doing later this week, I believe tomorrow, a meet and greet with some of their elected officials there. And they have gone to Thompson Island. In fact, they'll be there tomorrow to experience the camp that we have there and some of the programming that's going on. So yes, we are involved. They also did have a bit of a gathering at the Onolago Arena the other day, so that they can get out of the city limits and as well as from the NAVCAN Center. So we have been working with them in that aspect and any other, supports that we can provide to our, our brothers and sisters from Red Lake or Deer Lake, excuse me.
Okay, another question. Will general and district meetings be in person or by Zoom? I know we referenced that earlier in the program. And if by Zoom, how soon will in-person meetings resume?
So this next Thursday, we are having our first general meeting, as I reported, on August 5th. It will be by Zoom. It'll be an introduction, discussing, doing a bit more fulsome presentation on the orientation and the coming weeks around the orientation. And we will also at that point have the district meeting dates set. They're not available. The district meeting dates aren't available as of today. Otherwise, I would have reported them today. As far as being in person or on Zoom, right now, the next one next week will be on Zoom. We'll continue to look at our options for in person. I know that people want to be able to have the face-to-face interactions and receive the updates. I don't have a decision on that as of yet, whether or not that will be coming for September or not, but we will keep you updated on that.
Okay. Can you talk about the new homeless shelter MCA opening Cornwall?
You may recall during the thick of the pandemic, there was a number of calls that we received from community members as well as organizations and individuals helping out some folks, our members living in the city of Cornwall who were experiencing hardship around having a home and were as a result homeless or very close to being there. Now, at that time, we undertook an initiative to provide some supports that we could immediately, but also looking at options that we could do for a service center for those individuals. Now, since then, we have leased some space at the former hospital, the former general hospital. We have not purchased. We've only leased some space there to provide a service center for our MCA programs. As well, there is some space that's in that leased area for housing, for lodging. I mean, it's just going to be designed for temporary to help those individuals, seek more permanent places to live, but also to receive programming from the MCA. Now, the center has not opened yet. We're going through some of the permitting process that is required by the city, but we anticipate that this will be opened hopefully in the next coming weeks. The need continues to grow. We're fastly moving to get the center opened. This will be an expansion of our existing services that we provide here in the community available to people outside of the community. That is the scope of work that they'll be doing there, but also we'll have some lodging available to help them transition back to independence.
So if people are interested in this, how do they, who's in charge of the program or the new setup?
The Akwesasne Wellness Center is the program that's leading this initiative, and if there are individuals who want additional information, they can give the Akwesasne Wellness Center. That's the center on Cornwall Island, behind the apartments there, the KRA, the Gawanoga Riverview Apartments, also previously known as the shelter, but now it's the Wellness Center. They are the one that is leading this initiative. If you want more information, give them a call at one of the MCA numbers and ask for the Wellness Center.
Okay. Another question is Mohawk Council of Akwesasne being sued for outstanding internal and land disputes.
So yeah, there is a suit that was filed and registered with the Ontario courts against the MCA for outstanding land disputes, and that continues to make its way through the court process.
Any comment on that?
Well, I can't go into a whole lot of detail because we are, being sued, but I will say that I do know that land disputes and the challenges around land disputes continues to be problematic for community members as well for the MCA. We want to find ways to provide solutions to these challenges, but they are they are all varying in finding a solution to them, because some of them may stem from estates. Somebody may have passed away without a will. Some of them may be simple the line between two properties disputes. Some of them may be, access issues. So they are varying, and we do our best to try to find, amicable solution to these disputes. Now, some of them we have been able to, and others we have not been able to, and including some have resolved on their own through the initiatives of the parties. Now, we do the best that we can. We are confined because of, certain government policies under the Indian Act, and Indian Affairs, does still have to approve certain land transfers and etc. So we are restricted, unfortunately, by that, but we do try our best to find solutions to land disputes and disagreements within the community related to land.
Okay, why was the Legislative Commission eliminated? Is there going to be a new commission or entity to take its place? If so, what will be the difference between the old Legislative Commission and a potential new one?
I don't have all the particular details, but I do know that the Legislative Commission was rescinded, and it was replaced with a legislative oversight body. So this will be a body that will assist in the legislative development of our community laws. It'll have a similar role to the Legislative Commission previously, but not as much of too intimately involved in the actual development or drafting of the law. So previously, the Legislative Commission was responsible for the drafting and bringing it forward. The legislative oversight will provide guidance and input into it, but the development will be done through the technical aspect. This, if there are individuals that want to see the resolutions in relation to this, I encourage them to give our office a call and request a copy of the resolutions that created the legislative oversight body. It is new, and this will be the process and body being used going forward.
Will council consider changing election bylaws? This community member called, they live in Cornwall. They cannot run for council. They are unrepresented, and they cannot sit on any boards in Akwesasne, like the membership board or the Board of Education. So they're looking at the question, will council consider changing the election bylaws?
Well, I will say that, this individual may not have been able to cast a vote for a member of their council, but they're not unrepresented. Our council represents all of the people in our community living on and off reserve. Now, I do know that, some of the processes in place do make some of those members off reserve feel as though they're not able to or part of, and we are, I'm committed to bringing down those barriers. All members of our community, regardless if they live here or outside of our community, are important to us, and we need to be inclusive of them. Now, the legislative reform for the Akwesasne election law specifically has a process for amendment. And it is our intention to bring forward that process for that law to be amended. Now, it is guided by community engagement and input, and I encourage community members to keep an eye out for when that process is started, and to bring forward their concerns and suggestions for changing of the law, which includes the ability for people who don't live in the community to vote or participate in one way or another. So we do intend to bring that forward, and keep an eye out. That will be coming forward.
Is MCA considering a food sustainability program similar to the Siverages Mohawk Tribe's agriculture program, community gardens, canning, traditional plant growth like corn, beans, squash, etc.?
Well, we haven't had a chance, our council hasn't had a chance to establish our goals and priorities for the next 3 years of this term, but it is something that continues to be quite obvious that we need to move in that direction. Now, we do have some initiatives that we have been examining that will start that. We did have the food project, or we do continue to have a food distribution for the community, which only meets the immediate needs. But I think that it's time that we start looking at the long-term and sustainability, especially with so many environmental factors around us or happening in the world we live in. We need to make sure that we're secure as a community, regardless of what happens around us. And this is something that I hope that our council will make a priority for the next 3 years.
Again, we're talking with Mohawk Council of Akwesasne Grand Chief Abram Benedict, and we're just about ready to wrap up. A couple of quick things here with CBSA. With the reopening of the border to vaccinated United States citizens, how much of a traffic change do you anticipate? And do you know if the vaccinated U.S. citizens that cross by land here at the port of entry, Cornwall, they do require a COVID-19 negative test? Will that be PCR, or can a rapid test be utilized for that purpose? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so we are very conscious that the border will be opening to American citizens. The Canadian border will be opening to Canadian citizens in the very near future. So we have been in conversations with CBSA to ensure that they are making sure that they have the workforce to accommodate that. Now, I don't think that we'll be seeing a massive influx in our area, but we likely will see an increase, but nothing too significant. The testing, it has to be the PCR, is my understanding, a certified test that has to be administered 72 hours before entering the country or presenting themselves at the Canada Customs.
Okay. Now the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne, quickly, Grand Chief, are you guys open to the public now? Do we still have to be escorted into the buildings? How's that working for the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne as an organization overall?
Yeah, so the Mohawk Council is operating as normal. I guess we can say that loosely. Nothing is normal anymore for us, but all individuals coming into any building still continues to need to be screened, which they'll be asked a series of questions, whether or not they were exposed to a person with COVID-19, or whether or not they exhibit any symptoms of COVID-19, and they'll be required to take their temperature. That continues to be required of all of the entering all of the buildings, but otherwise everybody is working from their offices. There's maybe some still remotely, depending on certain situations, but otherwise all services are being provided with COVID restrictions still being a priority, but they are available.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to ask you to wrap up, Grand Chief, to bring our program to a close on this Tuesday afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, as always, Reen, thank you very much for making some time for me to come and provide you and the community with an update. I do enjoy providing the updates, and I do enjoy answering questions of the community, whether it be abroad or COVID related, and things that I can't answer. I do venture to try to find the answers to them at either next month's or directly. People can contact me directly. I do want to say that I'm very hopeful that we continue to be on the positive end of the COVID, and that it continues to dwindle in the direction that it's heading in. Those that are, continue to be unsure about the vaccination, I encourage them to, speak to a health professional and to get some, to look at reliable information while trying to determine whether or not the vaccination is best for them. We have seen the positive cases of COVID-19 dwindle down. They still exist. The variant still continues to be a rampant risk, but for the most part, the restrictions are being lifted, and we're seeing some normalcy because of the fact that we have a number of people being vaccinated in and around our community. So it is making a difference, and we need to continue to do that. We are still concerned that we could be subject to a fourth wave. All indications are showing that a fourth wave could be a wave of those who are not vaccinated. And, this has been an extremely long battle for us. And, the pandemic has been something we never thought we'd ever have to deal with in our entire lives. And it has been tough on all of us. It's now great to be able to share a meal with our loved ones and our family and friends and, hug our dudas. But we can't take this for granted. We need to continue to do our part. So I thank everybody that has been doing that, as always, our healthcare professionals that are doing their part and have continued to be there from day one. As previously mentioned, we'll be having our first general meeting next Thursday. It will be on the Zoom. Anybody interested in participating is asked to please email communications@akwesasne.ca, and we will send the link for the meeting. Those that don't have access, there is a way to phone into the Zoom system and listen in and ask questions as well. We will be looking at whether or not the next meetings will be in person or not. This is something that we're taking, step by step. But otherwise, Reen, I would like to continue to coming back every month to at least provide a quick snippet update on the COVID and any other items that the community wants to discuss. We can look at providing specific items as we go forward as well, because during the pandemic, I didn't think it was appropriate to talk about other things other than the pandemic, because it's been a real tough ride for all of us. So as always, John, go to you and our listeners for listening in this afternoon, and we'll touch base again at either the general meeting next week or in about a month's time. So, Maureen.
Yeah, well, please take care and give our best to the newly elected council, and as you guys kick off your newly elected 3-year term. So
yes.
Congratulations, and thanks for all that you do. We'll talk to you next time.
Same to you, Reen. Go.